considered disrespectful to stare or deliberately listen in on someone's conversation, but our next guest says eavesdropping can actually be a good thing. In his book, Eavesdropping, John Locke takes a serious look at this virtually universal phenomenon. John is a professor of linguistics and joins me now. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is pretty interesting because I feel like everyone does it and they might not even realize they're eavesdropping.
I think that's true. I think it's so much a part of who we are and what we do. We're all curious to know what's going on in the lives of others, especially if we sense that there's something about them that they may not want us to know.
Oh.
We really zero in on that.
How did you become interested in this topic?
Well, I'm a professor of linguistics, but I think more interested in human communication, the way people actually relate and what they know about each other and how they learn about each other. And this is a way that sometimes doesn't involve language, that people can snoop and get into each other's private activities.
Now, when you're eavesdropping, you say that it's the crossroads of intimate experience, personal power, and social control. Break that down for me.
Yes. Well, if you think about this, when you're observing someone in private, there's something about that that's kind of intimate. After all, they're not sharing that with you, and frequently people behave in a fairly relaxed and a kind of a truthful way when they think they're not being observed. They sit in a certain way that they might not sit in when they're being watched. They say things, they do things. Certainly we don't do in public all the things that we might like to do. And so we do them in private, and the eavesdropper partakes of that experience, whether they're peeking through a crack or listening through a keyhole and so forth. And when they have obtained that experience, they also know something. And sometimes that gives people a certain kind of power. Mm-hmm. They have power often over that individual. They could potentially blackmail them.
I know, but how would you ever say you're not supposed to be listening? How would you use that?
Well, you could also gossip. You can whisper it away, and if you do, you're likely to achieve a fair amount of authority in your group or perhaps in your small village. And frequently, the thing that you're talking about when you're representing what you learned in eavesdropping is something that someone shouldn't be doing. We don't talk about the time we saw Mr. Smith sitting in his living room reading a book.
Oh no, it has to be more dramatic than that, right?
It's got to be juicy. And so there are implications of that for social control. That is to say, you won't believe what I saw Mr. Smith doing. And, or not doing, whatever the case might be. And the word may get back to Mr. Smith that he was seen doing this thing, and so there's a sense in which this is controlling.
I see. Now, we're taught typically to mind our own business, but you say eavesdropping is not always bad.
No, I think, it would be one thing if it was a sort of pathological thing where you spent your entire day with your ear to the crack. Although, I mean, one could make that suggestion about the media if you spent all of your time watching soap operas, which is almost like the modern incarnation of ancient eavesdropping experience. It wouldn't be particularly healthy, I suppose. But normally, in sort of what I would call recreational eavesdropping, where we just kind of tune in to what's going on next to us, we learn things that are sometimes very helpful.
I see. And men and women kind of eavesdrop differently, don't they?
They do. They do. I think a lot of people think women eavesdrop more than men do. I think they may do a certain kind of it more often. Let's say in a restaurant, tuning into what the people in the next table are talking about.
Trying to figure out if they're on a date or something. I'm not going to lie, I've done it before, John.
Yeah, you just overheard some people talking. And how you learned that, I don't know, if you weren't eavesdropping. But I think relationships are certainly continuing interest to women. Sort of things that concern the home and family and relationships. Men do a different kind of eavesdropping, sometimes I think kind of a defiant kind of sending a signal, who are you, and do you pose any kind of a threat to me or my house or my family? You know, who's that guy out there?
They're trying to figure it out, right?
Who's that person on the street? Yeah, that's right.
All right, John, let's talk about what's happening on July 26th at the Westport Country Playhouse. Sounds exciting.
Well, they're staging a Moliere play, Tartuffe, and I think the reason they asked me to do some introductory remarks that night, and also in the other stagings of the play, it turns out that there's a fair amount of eavesdropping.
Oh, no kidding.
In the play, and a lot of gossip. They're constantly whispering things about each other. And there are a couple of clear cases where the person actually hides under a table or in a closet in order to get some information. In one case, whether the gentleman's wife is having an affair. So the play is riddled with these kinds of
So we get a little lesson on eavesdropping beforehand?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay, very
so.
good.
Yes.
Where can we find your book? Of course, the name again is called Eavesdropping.
Private bookstores have it. Amazon has it. Barnes & Noble, the usual outlets.
Pretty readily available.
Yes, indeed.
All right. John Locke, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right.